Hey everybody, this is Robert Burke, and welcome to a special edition of When to Play. Today I'm going to be doing my top 10 most replayable games. So when I talk about a replayable game, this means it's a game that I continue to want to play over and over again over a long period of time. I'm part of that whole cult of the new, I would say, and a lot of people in my game group are. So we're always wanting to play the newest games, whether they're from Kickstarter or especially now, like Gen Con just ended. So a bunch of people in my group have picked up games from Gen Con or pre-ordered games that we're releasing at Gen Con. So we've been playing a lot of these new games and really enjoying it, and we tend to do that a lot. But a lot of the games that we play that are part of this cult of the new thing, we play a few times and then we don't play them again. Ever. Some of them we never play again. Some of them we might play again, but once, and then we won't play it again for a long, long time. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about games that you play and maybe you only play them once a month. Maybe you only play them once every other month. Maybe you only play them 2 or 3 times a year. But these are games that you will always be happy to play because they're great games. They have stood the test of time, so to speak. So, you know, like some of the games, for example, one example for me is the game Escape, the Temple, where you're rolling the dice and you've got a soundtrack. It's 15 minutes long or something like that. It's a very short dice rolling game. That game was so huge for a while. When that first came out, it was the hotness. Everybody was playing it everywhere all the time. For 3 or 4 weeks, people in my group were playing it every single week. Every convention I went to, tables of people were playing this game, and then it just disappeared. I don't see anybody play this game at all anymore. I don't see people playing it at conventions. I don't see them playing it in my group. So even though it was a great game, there's lots of games like this. It's a great game. It just doesn't have that sticking power. So, you know, I don't know what it is. What pushes a game from being a great game that does really well? Maybe it sells out. Maybe it, you know, shoots up the charts on BGG. But there's only a select few games that make it into that consistent rotation that you will see played over and over and over again. It becomes a timeless thing. So I guess as a game designer, that's what every game designer is hoping for, is that game that will become a timeless one and not just die out. That's a very, very hard thing to do. So here's my 10. This is my opinion now. Your list will probably be very different from mine, and that's absolutely okay. But for me, these are the games that I will consistently want to play. They're my 10 top most replayable games. Number 10 on my list is Pillars of the Earth. This is a mid-weight Eurogame, and I am a fan of Eurogames. I tend lately, I guess over the past year, I've been playing a lot less Eurogames though, and more, you know, bluffing and Ameritrash games and kind of party games and stuff like that. I've kind of been loosening up a lot over the last year. But when I want to play a mid-weight Eurogame, Pillars of the Earth is definitely my go-to one. I enjoy this game immensely. Now there's other games that were in the running for this position. I think Stone Age was one I loved that I played a lot. Lords of Waterdeep was in contention as well. But they've kind of fallen behind, and when I want to play a Euro game and I don't want to learn new rules, Pillars of the Earth is the one that I'll recommend, that I'll pull out. I don't know why. Well, I think if I have to break it down, I think the theme has a lot to do with it. I'm a big fan of the book, so that helps with this a lot. I love the mechanic of pulling the pawns out of the bag. And, you know, if your pawn is pulled first, you're going to have to pay more money to get that ideal placement on the board. You'll get first pick of what benefit you get, but you're going to have to pay more money. That mechanic is just it's a brilliant balancing mechanic, and I haven't really seen it anywhere else. I love that. The only downside of the game is if you're pulled last, like if all 3 of your pawns are pulled last. That's very rare, but when it does happen, it's kind of lame and frustrating, because you get the very last choices. Even you don't have to pay any money, but you get the last choices. But that can never, even when that does happen, it really never interferes with your strategy that much. So that's a very minor quibble. But I love the board and the artwork. The board is just beautiful, and it really helps immerse you in the theme of building a cathedral. And I don't want to care what anybody says about the cathedral that you build. It's just a timer. It's like a round timer, and you're building a cathedral. I think it's cool. I wish more games did stuff like that. So I'm a fan of that. So Pillars of the Earth is my number 10 most replayable game. If I want to play a mid-weight Euro, not too heavy, but not too light, don't want to have to, learn a bunch of new rules, that's the game that's coming out and going to hit our table. Number 9. My 9 most replayable game is Game of Thrones. This is a seriously backstabby game. It is the backstabby game, and it perfectly integrates with the game of what Game of Thrones is. I'm a fan of Game of Thrones. A lot of people in my group are fans, and this game really does turn friend against friend, just like happens in the books. So the theme is wonderful. You do have to play this with 6 players. It's not balanced if you play it with less than 6 players, although Fantasy Flight does have some different scenarios. You can print on demand if you want to play 4. You can do a good 4-player game of this now if you want to get those little expansions. But the 6-player game is just a wonderful game. It takes a long time, so you have to be in the mood. But if we don't play Game of Thrones for a while, we start saying, all right, we need to have a Game of Thrones night, and we eventually do. So this is a game that continues to come out and hit our table time after time after time. So my number 9 is Game of Thrones, the board game, not the CCG. My number 8 game, most replayable game, is Defenders of the Realm. This is the only true co-op. I've got another game on my list that's kind of a semi-co-op, but this is a true co-op where you're all working together. You're trying to defeat 4 major bosses who are infiltrating into your main city in the middle of the board, and if they get there, you lose the game. There's lots of ways you can lose the game. There's only one way you can win the game, and what's so great about it is the different characters all have very unique abilities, so you really feel like you're contributing to the success of the party. You have side quests, so there's things you can do to help the party that's all about you, so it kind of limits that alpha player who wants to coordinate everything. It kind of helps with that. The theme, I love the fantasy theme. The Larry Elmore artwork is really old school D&D, so that's nostalgic for me, so that might be a reason I like it as well. The graphic design is horrible, but I don't need to talk about that. That's been way overblown, I think. The game itself is just a ton of fun, and it's my number 1 cooperative game that I want to continue to bring out to the table, because every time we play it, we have a great time. And a big part of it, too, is that it's hard. It's difficult to win the game, so when we commit to playing it and we do win, it's a big deal, and we're high-fiving, and it's one of those games where you're going to be on the edge of your chair at times, you're going to high-five at times, you're going to scream at times, you're going to curse your dice rolls at times. It's just a fantastic game. So my number 8 is Defenders of the Realm. My number 7 most replayable game is new to my list because it kind of took me a while to get some of the people in my group into it. For whatever reason, I just didn't play it with the right people. But Cosmic Encounter, my number 7, is a really, really replayable game, mostly because of all the alien races that come in this game. Mechanics are the same for everybody, except every player has an alien race with a very special ability. So every time you play it, you're going to be playing a different alien race. You're going to be going up against different alien races, and how those race abilities interact with each other makes it a totally different game every time. So you never know what you're going to get, and it's exciting. It's like reopening a birthday present over and over, and every time you open it, it's something different and something cool. Sometimes it might not be your favorite gift, but a lot of the times it's very, very cool. I have a ton of fun with this. My group really likes this. It's easy to teach, and it will be a go-to game for us because it doesn't take that long either. We can play it with up to 5 people, 3 to 5 people. We can play this game. We know it's going to be unique. We know it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same old, same old. So Cosmic Encounter is my number 7. My number 6 most replayable game is Battlestar Galactica. My group will always play this consistently, maybe once a month or so. We're going to see this game on the table. It is a fantastic thematic game. It really feels like the modern series. You're always just hanging by your fingernails. You're trying to figure out who the Cylons are who are trying to destroy you. The traitor mechanic is second to none in Battlestar Galactica. I don't play it as much as some of the people in my group because it is a long game, and on our game nights, it's a game we can play on a weekend game night, a weekday game night rather. But I know that if I sit down to play Battlestar Galactica, that's all I'm going to play. So a lot of the times I turn down Battlestar Galactica for that reason, but the game itself is really fantastic, and it's something I'm going to play again and again. I'm sure of it. Alright, that's number 6, Battlestar Galactica. Number 5 is Ticket to Ride. I think this is the ultimate gateway game. Many people would debate that. Some people would say it's Carcassonne. Some people would say it's Settlers of Catan. For me, it's Ticket to Ride. If I take all those 3 games, Ticket to Ride is the game that's the easiest to explain to people who don't play games, and they like it. Regular non-gamers love this game when you show them the game. It's easy to pick up. You're just making sets of cards. You're collecting cards, kind of like Gin Rummy, to build your tracks. My wife loves this game. That's one reason that this is probably number 5 on my list, because it's one of the very few games I know I can play with anybody, including my wife. So that's important to me. So this is a game I'm going to continue to play over and over again. Number 4 on my list is the Resistance, or the Resistance Avalon. My group tends to play the Resistance Avalon more. We like that a little better, but the Resistance is the same idea. There is a traitor in the group, and it is a very fast game that plays with a lot of people. And that's one of the reasons we see this game a lot, and we're going to continue to see it. It's a great game for the end of the night when you don't have a lot of time left, and people maybe you've had a couple people, 2 tables of 4-player games, then you all come together as a group and you can play the Resistance Avalon and really just have a great time. You don't have to think too hard. You can relax. You're trying to figure out who the traitor is. You're trying to catch signals from other people. It's a ton of fun, a very simple game. It is a go-to end-of-the-night game for us, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. So number 4, my number 4 most replayable game is the Resistance. Number 3 is Werewolf. This falls into the same category. Werewolf, any convention you go to, you will see people playing Werewolf in the halls all night long. I don't tend to do that. I don't usually play Werewolf at conventions, although I have. But this is another end-of-the-night thing for us where, you know, we're lucky. We've got a great moderator, and that could be important. We have a great moderator in our group, and whenever he wants to play Werewolf, I'm all in because it's always a ton of fun. You know, with the different roles, trying to figure out who the werewolves are, trying to survive and win the game. Even though there's player elimination, it's usually okay because it's the end of the night, and if you get killed, you could just drink a beer and watch, and it's still entertaining. So love Werewolf. It's also a game I played this game with my extended family just using on vacation, with just using a standard deck of cards. You can play this with people who are not gamers, and they will love it. Kids will love it, especially between the 8 and 12, 15, 16 range. They're going to love this game, and it's very simple, and it plays with a lot of people. So you could do this at a party and have a ball. So Werewolf is a game that I think is going to last me my whole life. I'm going to continue to play this game. Number 2 is a heavier game. It's one of the more heavier games on my list, and that's Dominant Species. We love Dominant Species in my group. I think it is a perfectly designed game. It is it's a brain burner. It can really, to play it well, you really need to think ahead. You need to plan your turns out. You need to capitalize on your turns, on when you see openings for ways to score points. You always have to have the end game in mind, because all the points that you can score at the end of the game. So it's a game that really requires a lot of strategy, and skilled players are going to win this game. Now, I'm not huge into that. I tend to really like the more relaxed bluffing games. I have more fun with relaxed games, Ameritrash games, and bluffing games. But I do like Euro style games, and Dominant Species is probably my number 2 favorite game out of all games. I like it that much. This is one of those games that the people in my group enjoy it as well. And if we haven't played it in a while, I'll start hearing people, hey, when are we going to play Dominant Species again? You know, it's an event. It's like, yeah, you're right. We're going to play it next week, and we make a date, and we all get together and we play it. And when we do, it's competitive and it's fun. It's one of those games where the teeth come out. You know, everybody's serious and they're trying to win the game. And the theme is very well connected here too. I love the theme of it. It's unique and it's connected to the mechanics very well. So Dominant Species is my number 2 most replayable game. This is a game I'm hoping that I can play for the rest of my life. Number 1 is Twilight Imperium 3. Was there any doubt? I mean, is there any game better than Twilight Imperium 3? No, there's not. It's the best game ever made. I tell people that all the time, and I can back it up. It's got everything I want in a game as a gamer. Everything. It has cool pieces. It has combat. It has political intrigue. It has negotiation. It has resource management and trading and economies and kingdom building. You are building a science fiction novel when you play this game with your friends. And I remember Twilight Imperium games as if it was a film that impacted me, or a book that I read. I have visual images of games that took place in the past. I can't say that about many games. Twilight Imperium takes a long time to play, and that's why some people don't like it. It doesn't bother me, because that time flies by so fast, because I'm so immersed. We play a game and we're like, wow, that was amazing. And we've been playing for 10 hours and it seems like it was only an hour. That's how engrossed I'll get in this game when I'm playing it. I just love it, the way things fall together. You know, which players make alliances, which ones become enemies. Why did they become enemies? You know, you build a history as you play the game, and you can only do that kind of thing with a longer game like Twilight Imperium. Because it's long, I can't play it a lot, but I do play this 5 or 6 times a year, and I will continue to play it 5 or 6 times a year, because it's an awesome game, and it is my number 1 most replayable game is Twilight Imperium 3. So thanks for watching, listening to me rant about my personal top 10 most replayable games. Yours are probably very different. So let me know. I'd love to know what your most replayable games are and why. It's a good thing to think about, because there's going to come a time where you're going to need to cull your collection, and you probably want to put these aside because they're not going to be included. Again, my name is Robert Burke. Thanks for watching.